Welcome back. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do, I'm going to show you what I do after I do canning. It's important to wash your jars because during the canning process, food can get on the outside of the jars and you'll attract bugs. Here in Texas, you don't want that, especially those water bugs. But I do want to go ahead and mention, if you ever go to a party and they're giving away the food that is left over for, spreading it around and stuff like that, ask for the veggie tray. Carrots and celery. And that's 1.5 pints. 1 jelly jar of green bell pepper for, crock pot recipes. And 2 jars of broccoli for free. Ask for the veggie tray. You can always do this. Even if you have radishes, you can can radishes too. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you how I take care of the jars. Okay, and this is very important. You want to take the rings off. Take them all off. And you want to wash the rings separately. What I use, I don't use just regular soap and water. I use a solution of what's called PBW. You can actually get this from a brewery supply store. I do believe this is on Amazon as well. There used to be a company called So Clean. I think it's called, no, it's not So Clean. Don't have a jar of it. There used to be another company that went out of the business that sold this too. But this is to dissolve the outside biologicals. Now, you don't use much of this. 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. And this this is advertised as no rinse. I still rinse because I want to make sure everything is off. But you can just put it in your dishwater and with a little bit of soap. Let things soak for 5 minutes and then wipe off. And I do my supplies too, my utensils, because it's very important that whenever you can, that all your utensils is squeaky clean, because you don't want to can germs and stuff inside of the jars that can make you sick. Or cross-contamination. Say if you're working with onions and garlic and then all of a sudden you switch to carrots, well, you don't want your carrots tasting like onion and garlic, well, unless you're happy with that. I also wash my bottles this way. There are bottle brushes that you can get inside of here, but it's actually better if you use the solution, because not all bottle brushes get everything out of them inside. So you want to wash it with the solution as well. This is what breweries use to wash these bottles with. It's made for that. Now to put our jars in. And we're going to let that soak for 5 minutes. We're going to wipe them off, rinse them off, and let them dry. Now, whenever you store your jars, Okay, now I have found that if you store your jars with your rings on, you can create a false seal. You want to store your jars without the rings. If you want to stack your jars, what you want to do is that you want to make sure that there's like a piece of cardboard or something in between. Okay, that's the reason why you see people stacking the boxes that these came in, because you need something in between them to be able to protect them from clanking. Now, also, if, say, this seal blows over time, okay, the weight of this will cause the seal to stay down. You don't hear it, or you don't see it until it's too late. And hopefully you'll be able to notice that the lid came off way too easy. Okay, so this is what the top of my freezer usually looks like after a canning session. Okay, I've got all of these washed. All of these are drying, and once they're fully dry, I'll go ahead and put my labels on them. And the challenge is to find a place for all of these jars. I've got these stashed in 2 places in the home. I'm probably going to need to find a 3rd. But, you know, all the dishes and stuff. This is how I dry my rings. This right here is a baby bottle dryer. Okay, and they work perfect for these type of bottles, as well as if you do kombucha, the kombucha bottles that you buy at the store. You can separate all these out. These have a little place, a little ring right here for straws. You can put in your chopsticks and let those dry. Okay, and this will probably take all day to dry. I'm not worried about it because they're all going into a plastic drawer after they dry. Like I said, I don't store them with the lids on. I use the lids only for transport. If I'm mailing or sending jars to other family members, I'll use the lids, the rings, just so they don't pop off in the mail or in the car. There's the corn. Now, another thing that I did earlier that I just washed is garlic and oil. Pressure canned it, cooked it all down. So now I have garlic oil and mashable, excuse me, mashable garlic, which we like on toast or chaffles. And here we are just waiting for the veggie plate that I canned. It's done. The time is done. We're just waiting for this to come down to pressure and cool off, so we can go ahead and open up the lid without blowing everything up. And then whenever that's done, we're going to go ahead and wash that the same way we did the other jars and label and put away. Now that we've gone ahead and cleaned everything up, labeled everything, and found room in other rooms for that canning session, I'm going to go ahead and show you what to do with the cucumber juice that we saved. Now, we have a watermelon. We don't eat watermelon very often, maybe 1, maybe 2 slices a year. 1 watermelon is actually too much for us. So I'm going to show you what we do with the leftovers. Here's our watermelon. I'm going to go ahead and save a few slices for Grandpa and I. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you how to make juice out of this, and my personal recipe for watermelon pickles. And Grandpa chose a yellow flesh. Now these ends, I'll go ahead and take all the yellow out, peel it, and the rest of the green rind and anything that I don't use, I'll go to the worms. One thing about watermelon is that it's actually good for diabetics. The watermelon has a lot of fructose in it. So the fructose goes straight to the liver and doesn't get absorbed by the body as fast as processed sugar. Now the only exception to this is anybody who has fatty liver. If you have a fatty liver, either by diet or alcoholism, please stay away from watermelon because it actually can do more damage. Please heal your liver first before you consume watermelon. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, so that is enough watermelon for me and Grandpa for the year, for fresh eating. The rest of this gets juiced. Here's how you juice a watermelon. First thing is first, you grab yourself a scoop. I have a quarter cup measuring cup here. Okay, you're going to go ahead and scoop everything out and save the white part of the rind. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and peel the green stuff off. Now for this slice, we can just do this. If you want to slice the whole thing, you can. And you can do this with any color watermelon. It doesn't have to be yellow. You can do it with orange. You can do it with the traditional pink. And get yourself a smaller knife. One moment. Smaller knife. And I will show you how to de-seed this. Now, I've only got half of this done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take off the rind. Get yourself a peeler, and you're just going to peel that green right off. Make sure you get all the green off, because that is the most bitter part of the watermelon. And you want to continue. And peeling is a lot easier if you slice the watermelon up and make chunks like this, about the size of your peeler. Okay, and then you want to take your greens, put them somewhere. You can compost it. You can put it outside for the squirrels, because this does still have nutritional value, or any livestock. Now, what you want to do with the peels that have already been peeled, the whites of the watermelon, you want to make them into about 1-inch strips. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and salt these overnight, drawing out as much moisture as we possibly can, because I'm going to show you how to make watermelon preserves. Okay, now that you have your watermelon all nice and cut up, this is the flesh. Now the easiest way to take the seeds out is to mash these against a sieve. Most commonly called a strainer, or as kids call it these days, a bowl hole. Bowl hole. It's a bowl. It has holes. It works. I am using a medium mesh strainer, not a fine one, because we just want the flesh and the seeds to, or the flesh and the juice to run through, and the seeds to get stuck here. And use your hands. Or just break out the blender, use cheesecloth, and strain all the solids out. Now, depending on the type of cloth that you use, I'm using a muslin cloth that I bought over at Hobby Lobby. Cut it down. I just bought a yard of this. So, and this is actually washable. So this may actually take a while. And then we're going to go ahead and hang the solids to get the rest of the juice out. And this is going to be an all-day process. So take your time with this. Okay, now after you've gone ahead and got most of the solids out, we're going to restrain this. We're going to do a double strain into a pitcher. Get your muslin or cheesecloth out, and to catch what didn't, get caught before. And try not to drip. Okay, now that is watermelon juice. It almost looks like orange juice, but it is watermelon juice. Look how pretty that is. Now you can make jelly out of this. Okay, I'm not going to, because we don't eat that many watermelon products throughout the year. I'm going to make this into a hydration drink with the cucumber juice that we saved from making that relish. And you can strain out the cucumber as well. I might actually do that. That's a few that's a few skins in there. There we go. Now the reason why I canned the cucumber water versus putting it in the fridge or freezing it is because I didn't know whenever I was going to get to this. So this is a good temporary method of storing things as well. Now you can triple strain this if you want. I'm not going to because the skins don't bother me. Not the cucumber skins anyway. Now, you want to taste this. Remember, this is for hydration. It's supposed to taste a little bit sweet, a little bit salty, and it has a whole bunch of potassium from the watermelon and the cucumber, the magnesium, the sodium from the salt, and this is actually concentrated, so you want to make sure that it is nice and strong so you can jar this up and use this as a concentrate for whenever you're actually making up a gallon of it's like kind of like homemade Gatorade, I guess. But this will make 3 gallons of hydration juice. It's, you know, homemade Gatorade. Definitely strong. Definitely want to water this down 2 to 3 times. It's you know, one of these to about 2 or 3 of the same of water. Make sure it's purified water. Don't use just tap if you can. If that's tap is the only thing you have, please use it. It is very, very hot. Very, very crucial that you keep you and your animals hydrated. We are working, everybody is worried about the gardens. Right now, let the gardens go. Water as normal. Fertilize as normal. Start planting your fall plants now. All your fall starts. Onions. Garlic is going to come up here in October. You know, just plan for that. Anything that has already died, let die. Because we are in a drought. We have been in a drought for 12 years. The state of Texas has been in a drought for 12 years despite as much rain that we've actually gotten. We need to be able to survive. And the only way we are going to survive in Texas is to do a lot of spring and fall gardening. Forget summer gardening, and winter times are starting to become a little bit more harsh. The one thing about living in the South down here is that it is a constant struggle, and we are constantly learning how to grow our crops to survive. Now think about this. If we have no rain down here, what we're growing in our gardens this year is for next year's eating. Same thing with the produce that you are buying at the store. Those, you know, all the grains and the breads and the cereals and the beans and everything else like that was grown last year. Can you imagine what the food is going to be like next year? Now, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you my recipe, my personal handwritten recipe that I discovered by a lot of accidents of my watermelon preserves. And that will happen probably tomorrow after everything is soaked overnight. So we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is water bath this. Now, I have tasted this. It was a little bit better for me, so I added some stevia. You do not want to add sugar. You don't want to add corn syrup. You don't want to add any other bad sugars. Okay, because it already has the fructose from the watermelon that will give you benefits. You don't want to damage that by adding the processed sugars. Okay, I also added citric acid to this. Citric acid. Can't talk this morning. Because I want to make sure that this is shelf stable. You can add lemon juice to this as well. Okay, just do the same process. Make sure if you do use lemon juice, use fresh lemons, not a bottled juice, only because of the fact that whole lemons have more nutritional value. The stuff that is already in that is processed that you buy in the jars have no nutritional value in them anymore. Okay, they have a little bit of vitamin C, and that's about it. They have the lemon taste. They have been processed to the point to where there is nothing left of them. So you want to use fresh. And I do want to go ahead and while I'm doing the watermelon rinds, or the watermelon preserves, I'm going to show you how I preserve my lemons and limes. Okay, and you want to go ahead and process these for 25 minutes at a rolling boil. Alright, it is the next morning. Now, you know it's going to be a interesting day whenever the day chooses violence first thing in the morning. So please bear with me. It's just going to take some time. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and drain and rinse off the rinds. Okay, it's been sitting in the refrigerator overnight. We don't want to keep the liquid from this. You can if you want to. I don't. Alright, so for the brine, it's still going to be a sweet pickle. It is a pickle, but it's more of a preserve. We're still going to use vinegar in this, but not as much, along with some sugar and different type of spices, similar. Okay, we're still using allspice and cloves, but I'm actually going to go ahead and add some anise star, some sumac, cardamom pods, along with the cinnamon. This is more of an Asian style type of a flavor to the watermelon rinds. Okay, so you want to get your apple cider vinegar, 2 cups of apple cider vinegar to 1 cup water. No white vinegar on this one. Okay, you want to add a few whole cloves. That's too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, about the same amount. 6 whole cloves with a pinch of cloves, of the ground cloves. So about a pinch. Same with the allspice. That may be too much allspice. Same with the cardamom pods. Now, like I said, these are small. See how small they are? So you want to do 6 of those. I'm not adding a pinch of ground cardamom pods, but this is going to add a nice minty type flavor to it. Sumac. A pinch, about an eighth of a teaspoon. Give it a nice citrus flavor. Two whole anise stars, if you can find one whole. There we go. Okay, and then 1 3-inch stick of cinnamon. Going to let that come up to temperature, and then we'll add our sugar. Now this is not going to have as much sugar as the bread and butter. Okay, this is going to have about half. So you want to do about 1 1/4 cup of sugar. Let this all dissolve. Then you want to bring this up to a small rolling boil, and then we're going to go ahead and lower the temperature and add the watermelon rind to the brine, because we want to actually cook the watermelon a little bit. Cucumbers are a little bit more delicate. You don't need to soften them up. Watermelon rind you do. Alright, now that it is nice and hot and small rolling boil, we're going to turn it down to about medium-low. And then we're going to go ahead and soften up the watermelon rind. And let that cook until the desired tenderness. About 10-15 minutes. You can put a lid on this and let it sit for a little bit. But you want to try one out whenever, in about 10 minutes. See if it's soft enough for you. Because if you try one right now, you're going to break a tooth. If you have any teeth left. But notice I'm still leaving the spices in. Now, the reason why this is called a preserve instead of a pickle, if you noticed, there's nothing in here that will cause tannins. Okay, it's more of a syrup than it is a pickle. Now, if you want to make this a pickle and leave things a little bit crispier, you can add green tea leaves. In fact, I'm probably going to do that now and make this a pickle. It's still called, it still preserves, okay? Green tea leaves will give it more of that Asian flavor, and it will make it to where these aren't so soggy after processing, which is a good thing. I forgot about that. One moment. About a teaspoon. Now, if you don't want the effects of caffeine, go ahead and use used green tea leaves. Okay, make yourself a pot of green tea, and then use the leftover leaves for this. You'll still have the tannins, but you'll have the reduced caffeine. Okay, so now that we have this nice and steaming hot, and this is done, okay, it is now translucent. You can see that. We're going to put them in jars. For this, I'm going to take the cinnamon stick out. So I don't want that in the jar, but I'm going to leave the rest of the spices. Now you want to fill the solids first, and then pour the brine on top of the solids. Okay, now that we have all the watermelon rinds in the jars, taste the brine, see if it's sweet enough. Because if you need to add any more sweetener to this, or sugar, this is the time that you want to do this. Now I like my watermelon rinds on a little bit on the tart side. If you don't, add sweetener. Okay, and again, you want to wipe your rims, get the sticky off, clean the sticky everywhere. And just so you know, I'm doing these and I'm burning my hands, so be careful. Okay, and these get water bath for 15 minutes. Okay, there is not so much of a density of the fruit or the food inside of these. There's more liquid than there is the fruit, so the denser the food inside the jar, the more time you need. This has vinegar in it, a lot of vinegar, so it will be shelf stable for water bathing. Okay, and let it come up to a boil. Once it's to a rolling boil, you want to start your timer.